Overcoming is a show that sees us bringing women together in discussion about a challenge that they are either currently going through or have overcome. Basically, sharing our pain, holding hands, crying together, and healing together, hoping that this will inspire somebody currently going through tough times. Well, let's see what today's episode has in store for us.
Hi, my name is Kgomotso, the founder of the Botswana Endometriosis Foundation. I've had endometriosis for 10 years. I'm a mother to a 10-year-old boy. I'm an endo warrior.
Hi, my name is Aone I'm an endo activist. I'm 22 years old. I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 18.
You know, I've been about the emotional strain this condition has on us. I think back to times where I've literally just lost all hope and felt I'd actually be better off dead. You know, I don't even know how I've never actually tried to take my life. And the unfortunate thing is that there are people who take their lives. Just this week, I don't know if you came across post here, a certain man about his fiance who committed suicide.
I did.
Exactly. So that is the reality of it. There are people who actually even either contemplate, attempt, or end up succeeding at, committing suicide.
At one point, I literally said to myself, I wish I had cancer. Because at least with cancer, it stops at one point. It's either you get cured or you die. It stops. With endo, it's there. It doesn't, it's killing me internally, but it doesn't physically kill me to the point where there's an end. And that's why when I tell my friends that, they look at me like, Anna, don't say that. I'm like, you guys don't get it. My body is at a constant war with each other, and hey, sometimes I really wish there was an end for me.
Well, with depression, most of us are not depressed. I remember in 2016 October, I was depressed. Fortunately for me, to commit suicide because but this pain. Endo has no cure, I know, but more researches for this pain. We get so tired that we do try to go for counseling. And I won't say it helps, honestly, it doesn't help. Now I've been on depression medication and I feel it makes things worse. And every time I get medication or depression, what does it mean? Because I get medication or depression, I can't hallucinate. So, with the emotions, I can't say when I lay in and then they go.
But then I think though the most, I don't know how to handle the element that nothing can be done, because I think what's painful is that somebody is watching and they're at that very low point and they're hoping it does get better. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine clearly you carry for the rest of your life. So the best that you can do,
exactly.
Because we don't look sick.
What do you mean? What do you mean? There's something wrong with you? And as you were saying with counselors, right now there are no counselors, or I haven't found any that understand endometriosis. Because I went to a counselor and she literally just I'm telling her about all my problems and everything, and she's just you need to pray and I literally looked at her are you serious? You're telling me to pray? Don't you think I've tried that? Don't you think I've searched everywhere for some kind of peace, and I haven't found it.
And I think for me, for instance, to this day I still go for counseling, but it's a roller coaster ride. At times I go for counseling and I leave feeling empowered and a bit optimistic, and I think especially I remember back in the day my major issue was dealing with infertility. You know what I mean? And what my counselor would keep trying to do is trying to get me to entertain the thought, adoption or alternative, methods of getting a child, even though it's not biological. You know what I mean? And I remember, I don't even think I was ready to hear that. So I'd get so mad at her. How dare you?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
is it as easy as you just saying, oh, well, I think you should adopt. You know what I mean? Like, help me deal with these emotions. And then there'd be days where I go and I leave feeling so at peace. You know what? There's a brighter day in the horizon. Yes, it's possible. So indeed, it's a roller coaster ride. I hope Hari Kobori. Even speaking of, there are people who talk about diet, change the diet, they cut out, your dairy products, your processed foods, exactly, red meat, but they find that they're in less pain. And now those about exercise works. Has any of that worked?
Well, exercise for me personally works. Like it does, it's amazing. If I exercise like regularly, throughout the month, when my period comes or when the pains do come throughout the month, they're better, they're still there, but I see the difference between when I'm working out and when I'm not. And also just in terms of diet, living in Botswana, it's really difficult to cut down on the red meat,
Of course.
It's really good.
I don't eat nama intsina. I don't eat swikiri. But I still do get the pains. So that I think it depends on maybe it depends on individuals. Absolutely. Like Tramadol as a painkiller, it doesn't work for me. So it depends.
So ultimately, even with endometriosis, it varies, or regardless, the impact varies from person to person.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with Kanya. Some people, you would assume stage because they aren't in as much pain. Only for them to be diagnosed more stage 4. Some people are in extreme pain, and exactly the point. But it's a pity. It varies from person. I know that people actually talk about having changed their diet and working out, and then just out of nowhere, for years they conceive naturally, and like, wow, maybe I should do that, and then maybe you do that and it doesn't necessarily happen.
Work for you.
Exactly the point.
Well, we can keep on trying these things. What works for you, stick to it.
It's trial and error.
Exactly, on a trial and error. There's a wide range of options and things that could possibly help. I think it's the same thing even with the medication.
Helping in easing the pain, not curing it.
Absolutely. And I'd like us to touch on that actually, a bit later, on the element, cure, the element, all these treatments. Speaking of the infertility element of this condition, you have a child already. Would you like to have another child? Has it been a hindrance in you trying to conceive?
Well, after I've not tried Ibile, I don't want to because I don't want disappointments. I've just told myself that if it happens, but right now I'm not.
You're not even trying to think about it.
I cannot pressure.
And seeing that you were diagnosed so early, Aone, the thought of possibly not being able to have your own kids, have you ever literally thought of it and try to be in it? How are you as far as that is concerned?
It's difficult. There are days where I'm just, it's so different, like it's very difficult, because like already bana, I'm like, when there's a baby, I'm immediately drawn to that child, and every time like I see, like my cousin just had a baby, and every time I sometimes look at him and I'm just like, I might not have a copy of me ever, and it's difficult. Yes, there's adoption, there's IVF, there are all these things, but the mere fact, like I'm scared of that day when where it's real now, where it's like you can't have a child, because my doctor says it, because I'm lucky because he speaks to me a lot, and he keeps reminding me that you have to think about this, like it's something really serious. And I've told my parents and they're understanding. Like Maloba, I had a conversation with my mom saying, like, school, I think it's time for me to heavily. And she looked at me, and I'm like, you can't look at me like that, because I was told at 17 that, you know, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And like, as hard as it was for her, I can see that she's starting to realize that this is actually real. You know, this is a very high possibility, especially because I'm stage 4 at such a young age.
Imagine. You know, speaking of that, I remember, you know, after I got diagnosed and, you know, my struggle with trying to conceive, my biggest fear, over and above myself, was, will my sisters as well, because I've got 2 younger sisters, do they have endometriosis? Is there a possibility that they may also have this condition? They may also end up struggling. But you know what? All I'll say is that our God is good. Oh.